I'm going to start off by asking a couple of questions of our panelists. What I really hope this is we've been up in the clouds looking at the future, looking at what's happening. I think we've got some great panelists here that are actually working in the trenches on a day-to-day level, incorporating a lot of this knowledge, but really making things that work and learning a lot of things and have a lot of things to really share. So first of all, let's start by, why don't you guys introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about, everybody has read your bios, but what exactly are you guys doing in the field of mobile that, is unique?
So I'm Jay Kirsch. I run the Business Technology and Entertainment Group at AOL. So that's a group of media properties like TechCrunch and Gadgets, Moviefone, about 15 other properties. And I run product development, editorial, and distribution for those properties. Unique.
We're starting off tough.
I think one of the things that we've been at the forefront of is on the design side. We relaunched Engadget with responsive design, really embracing HTML5 in November. We're going to be moving a lot more of our properties that way over the next couple of months. And we think that from a business perspective, it's going to be great for us because we can take advantage of a lot of side door traffic. When you have a native property, you lose out on SEO traffic, you lose out on social traffic to a large degree. I think we'll be able to build a better experience and really grow an audience that way.
Rachel.
Hi, is this working?
Yeah.
Move my scarf around a bit so you can actually hear me. I'm Rachel Carawan with UPS. I work with the user experience group. I have the mobile user experience of all of our mobile properties, as well as working with our other marketers within the company to try to help them understand what platforms and technologies and capabilities exist for them and are at their disposal that they may not be aware of, and hopefully try to help them to incorporate them into their own programs in successful ways. When you say unique, I think more back to Ben's example of just the way that it's really changed the conversation that we've had. UPS for many years has been just really focused on talking to the shipper and mostly with large companies and really driving that volume. And mobile has really opened the door for us to extend that conversation out to the people who are actually receiving our packages. And in a way, it kind of connects us more to the everyday brand that you think of as the truck and the guy that you talk to or gal who's actually greeting you and bringing that package into your home. So it's a door opener for us.
Literally.
Yes.
Daisy.
And Daisy Lai from Urban Airship. We are the market leader in providing push messaging and geo-targeting capabilities to apps around the world. And more recently, we've been in the digital wallet space with Apple Passbook. My specific role is to work with the agencies such as T3, who have that mobile expertise, and together, work with these companies to, make them successful in a mobile strategy. What's unique about us? So I think that, a lot of people think, mobile, it's just, you got to be there. It's, this product, this service, push messaging. Whereas we think you have to have a strategy behind it, and I think it's so much more than just talking about these products. It's about, your full strategy, and that's what, we're here to help with.
And actually, I think that push is one of those things that is very distinctly mobile, has great potential. But I every time I download a magazine, download an app, or a lot of times hit a website, I'm bombarded with this. Do you want to accept push notifications? And most of the time, I'd be sort of game for it. But there are so many of them. Like you've got to filter it somehow. So how does it? How do I know what I want to have, what I want to let notify me, and what I don't want to let notify me? Sure. I mean, how do you, and you don't have a lot of space to deliver that value proposition.
No, absolutely, and I think that that's a question that a lot of companies out there are talking about when they're thinking about app strategy. And, I take an example of a retail space, right? So one of your customers comes in through the door, you're not gonna ask them, for their email address right then and there, right? You're gonna, wait, they'll browse around, and, once they pick the stuff that they want, at the point of sale, that's when you're going to ask. And so, I think to, your question is, I would say, wait for the user to make some sort of, meaningful either interaction with your app or, either through maybe a preference center, they've said, okay, these messages are relevant to me. I think that's when you pop up that message and ask them, would you like to receive push notifications? I think that's where, ESPN ScoreCenter had so much success because of, an extensive preference center that they're seeing, 90, close to 100% opt-in rate, which is, phenomenal. And so, in other cases, whether, maybe I like an artist in an app or something like that, that's when you pop in that message. And so I would say, kind of sit back, wait for the user to tell you what's meaningful to them. And in that case, then you can come in and say, here's where we can bring value. We're going to deliver these relevant messages to you, and then kind of have them kind of interact with you in that sense.
So you're taking cues from the user, and how they use the mobile app is probably very different than they use a traditional website, and you're using that to prompt the notifications. Are there any for UPS? I mean, the application has a lot of the same functionality as the website. Have you been watching how users use the mobile application? Do they use it differently than the website, or is it really just, I love tracking packages and I'll do it as many times as possible until it gets to my door?
By and large, it is it's very much a one-for-one pattern. That is, tracking packages is the #1 activity that people do with UPS. It's over 15 million a day on our website. It's not that high on our mobile device, but definitely the behaviors do track. So that's really where we've tried to align ourselves with what we do offer as our core functions within the app and within the mobile sites, is to get the things that people need immediately and are looking for fast, get that to them first, and then we'll start to extend out what our larger strategy is as we start kind of targeting the experience for different user bases.
Cool. So Jay, we've been talking about mobile and advertising and marketing for an hour, and I haven't heard the word ad banner come up once. How are we going to make money on these mobile websites?
I think we're going to have to get really creative about the way that we reach people. I think that to a large, and the user experience is kind of my domain that I manage for the properties. One of the things I didn't say I managed was sales, thankfully. But I think that we've seen actually that people are much more willing to accept ad units on even the small screen if they're relevant. We've had a lot of success with some of the new creative ones, but even still, they're really still things like the adhesion unit are really still just a different kind of banner ad. I think that we're going to have to get really creative with other forms of revenue than advertising. I think things like marketing services are going to become a big, where the entire mobile experience is really built around driving an end goal for the marketer.
And also, this came up in Ben's talk a lot, is that mobile opens up brand new doors in terms of data, in terms of handled appropriately and with full disclosure, but it creates amazing opportunities. I don't want you to share any trade secrets, but
So one thing, so our movie phone property, we have an enormous mobile audience. This was a product that was built 15 years ago for the phone, right? And
it's great that the name hasn't changed.
Yeah,
it stays movie phone.
And the guy, he still works for us.
Yeah.
It's a little bit unnerving. The voice that you hear is not an affectation.
You just hear him around the office.
Russ is just walking around talking like, it's really kind of odd. So we can see really dramatically different usage patterns on a laptop, on a tablet, and on a phone. When someone is goes to moviephone.com from their PC, they're reading articles, they're doing the full experience, they consume everything, and possibly even buying a ticket. If they're using the Moviephone app or using our mobile web property, they're only buying tickets. That's all they want to know, when the movie starts, and I want to buy a ticket now. And interestingly, when they're on the tablet, they're consuming enormous amount of trailers. we see this flood of clips and trailers, and then more trailers, and then more trailers. So we're tailoring our products differently now as that data comes in, and it's helping us a lot on the product development side.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really important point, is that, and we do it all the time in the office. We talk about mobile and we sort of blend tablet and phone together,
Yeah.
just because they're both portable devices, but they really are very different use cases. I don't know if you found that for UPS as well, but it's they really need to be treated differently.
Yes. And all of those kind of dimensions for us, time of day, what you're going to want to do kind of as a quick bit of digest a bit of information very quickly versus kind of sit and thumb through some more. I mean, it's all kind of a spectrum, if you will. And then with these connected devices, they're really more about consumption. So while they have their own unique behaviors, they're still not the primary input screen that a desktop still is.
And then I want to get to the Walgreens case study that Urban Airship has done some work on. I'm a New Yorker, so I've obviously been a Dwayne Reed customer for years. But I read about this Walgreens app, and I was actually, again, a little envious. Like, I kind of like that functionality. Daisy, can you explain a little bit about it, and particularly, as it applies to notifications and the different benefits to the user? Because it's not just an application for Walgreens. It's actually, there's a lot of benefit for the user themselves.
Absolutely, and I think that, to Rachel's point, they didn't just think, oh, okay, it works on the desktop, let me just kind of put it into a mobile device. You have to think about the form factor. And so for them, they took a look at the mobile device, of course, everyone's on the go, and capabilities, of course, a camera. So what Walgreens has done is they essentially deliver push messages to remind you of prescription refills. And then you can, with your camera phone, take a scan of that barcode that's in your prescription bottle and then just refill it that way. I mean, so for me as a consumer, I don't have to call in, I don't have to go into the store, hand in my, prescription notes and stuff and wait. And so I'm benefiting, of course, as a user itself. And I think that that's where Walgreens really made that difference, is because they focused on that customer aspect first. And kind of in a larger scope of things, technically, if I'm taking my prescription in a timely manner, then less doctor visits. So, sure, for Walgreens, they're driving up more business to their store, they're driving up revenue, but I think it's an interesting case because they really were so successful because they thought customer first. How am I going to make this a great experience for the customer?
And do they have plans to do any kind of geofencing? This is one of the things we talked about earlier, is that geofencing is been talked about as this great opportunity, and actually the demo that Ben just showed is some of the slickest modeling I've seen. But I haven't seen a lot of really great real world applications of it yet. I mean, maybe this will be the year. But do you guys have any favorite geofencing examples of companies really using location in a significant way?
Right, and I feel like it's funny because geo is just this hot buzzword that we've been hearing so much about. Whereas I still think that in the past year, I think that people were just really trying to get a hold of understanding it, because it has such great capabilities of precision marketing, to where exactly they are. So I think in 2012, what we saw was more those event-based marketing groups. Yeah. So, the London Olympics did it, South by Southwest, Lollapalooza, and Lollapalooza is an interesting example where they are, outdoors concert, and a huge storm was coming in, and so they ended up sending a message to everyone who had enabled location push messaging, and they, told everybody, okay, here's where to seek shelter, and then I think, once the storm passed, they said, oh, okay, everybody. It's good, get back in, and they did that, within an hour or something like that. So something, completely powerful, but had great use cases, when done right. And I think that what we saw towards the tail end of 2012, especially around the holidays, was more of the retails, the travel and hospitality. What we saw was more testing around just a flagship store, and really just honing in their geo-targeting capabilities there. And so I think, in 2013, it'll be just how to institutionalize it, how to expand it to across the U.S., across the globe. So I think that, best is yet to come type thing. I think that there will be some really interesting use cases this year.
Anything for UPS? Self-aware packages, so you can know when they're within. I mean, RFIDs are so cheap, you might as well throw them on there.
No, but I mean, I do see a lot of opportunities with kind of the smart home technologies that are coming out. I have a keypad entry instead of the traditional deadbolt lock, and they now make those that have the little computer on them that talk to your phone, and you can manage your codes remotely and things. I mean, that would be a great thing to be able to set a code and send that to our driver to say, hey, leave my package inside with some instructions so it's safe and out of the weather or harm's way. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that we will not be putting GPS to the public on the trucks. So we're not going to get to the point where you can stalk your driver. But I mean, there's a lot of really exciting opportunities out there.
We see some pretty cool opportunities for combining content with social content with geofencing. We have a really robust live event business. So, for example, all of the social comments coming out of TechCrunch Disrupt would be a really interesting conversation to read. I think that we could also do it around movie phone. We could look at some really cool things of what are people in Hollywood saying the night of the Oscars, and we have a partner that we're working with on that. And I think there's some really pretty interesting
I
projects.
mean, almost like a digital hashtag. Right now, hashtags are how you organize
exactly right.
those streams, and
Yep.
you can do it much more dynamically with a GPS.
Yeah.